Okay, we are back with another episode. Super excited for this one today. So we have got a great guest on it today. Been really excited and looking forward to asking Zac onto here and getting him on here to have his thoughts on the questions that we ask anybody. Zac is an absolute animal for anyone who doesn't know him. Certainly spotting you on the hack squat the other week, watching you with about 7 plates aside and pausing at the bottom. I was like, this guy's an absolute machine. But Zac, first of all, mate, thank you for coming onto the episode. Welcome to the podcast. It's really nice to have you here.
No, man, again, as you said, thanks a lot for having me on. It's my pleasure to sit down and just talk with another coach about different topics, nutrition, just what's going on with the industry and everything else. So just thanks for having me on.
No, it's my pleasure, mate. And that's exactly it. That's exactly why I wanted to do this. Was literally just to have a sit down chat with. It was like when, like, obviously we bump into each other in the gym every now and again, and like other coaches you speak to, you always have these chats that are very sort of relaxed and just giving your thoughts and your opinions on stuff, but they're never recorded. And it's always when it comes to recording stuff, it suddenly becomes very informative, very educational, very sort of overcomplicated. And I was like, it'd be nice just to have these informal, laid back chats and just see where they go. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. So do you just, for anyone who doesn't know you, do you just want to give a introduction into yourself, sort of your background, how you got to where you currently are?
Right. So, I'm Zac. I'm 27, just turned 27. I'm originally from Spain, from South Spain. And my background really, I've been doing sports all my life. So I started with football, really quick. Sucked it off, didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, and then moving to athletics, where I did really well, all the way up to about national level, and then I got part of that, moving to basketball. Again, did really well. I'm one of them was a bit obsessive with performance, which you can probably tell by the way that I train.
Yeah.
So
But just intensity, the intensity with your training.
Yeah, it is the intensity. I just love that. I just got told, since a very young age that you just need to perform, and training is. I got told once by this person every gym that I train at, but this person that the way that you train is the way you tell people who you are, sort of thing. And that kind of like, that was like the kind of like the mark, the fingerprint, it pretty much just stayed with me all my life. So
I like that.
Yeah. So from basketball, I was one of them kids where everyone was like, yeah, he's gonna make it, and then I was doing really well, and then I just got a really bad injury on one of my knees at the age of 16. That meant
young, isn't it, to get such an injury?
Well, the problem was not the problem, but the situation was I was 16. I was exactly the same height I am now, but I was about less than 10 stone, so I was really skinny. And that became a problem when you were playing with people 20 stone. Because all of a sudden, because I was fast, I was powerful, I could just slam dunk behind my head. I was really powerful, but on a kind of like physical contact, that was exactly the problem that I had. This fella literally fell on my side, and ACL and MCL literally just went. So that was it. I spent the next 4 months in a wheelchair. 6 months after that, crutches and the whole rehabilitation, and that's pretty much how I got into the gym. Like the gym was kind of like home. I had all the medics. I had all the medics saying, "Oh, you're gonna struggle with walking. You're gonna struggle with squatting or any like strength training." And I came back, 10, 11 months later, and I just went literally put a middle finger to all of them. I recorded videos of me squatting 100 kg for like sets of 20. I just sent them to them.
Jeez.
So that's how my passion for training in terms of like the gym and helping people pretty much just kind of like started. People started to ask me, "Oh, what are you doing with your training? What are you doing with the squatting? What's your strength and conditioning background? But how can I achieve my goals?" And at the age of 16, 17, that's when I started coaching people. And the typical friends, family, cousins.
Yeah.
It was something, and then. Later on throughout the line, I decided to move to the UK. Not because of coaching, if I'm being honest with you, because I was pursuing a career in music. So
I saw your stories last night of you playing guitar.
Yeah, that's it. Right.
Yeah, that's your instrument then.
Well, yeah, my main instrument is guitar. Yeah, but I play a bit of bass, a bit of a keyboard that I got over here. But yeah, at some point I was playing for orchestra and just doing live shows all over Spain, which was quite fun. But as you know, the lifestyle is quite off-putting for me. Some people will love it, but for me, obviously, I like to train. I like to be healthy, and
that's it. It's interesting that because it is that lifestyle is a complete contradiction to essentially the fitness and bodybuilding lifestyle, isn't it? It is the complete inverse.
Hands out, yeah. So, but yeah, I moved there and I went involved to Leeds College of Music to study more film music. But I've done other shit like sound engineering and all that kind of crap. But I didn't finish all of it because in the back of my head I was thinking, just before I finished it, I was like, oh, this is not what I want to do.
Yeah,
you know, the problem is in Spain, having a career in coaching is very difficult, or what it was difficult back in the day. So all of a sudden I had all my family saying, nah, you can't be a coach, man, there's no money in that. So then I pretty much just sacked it off straight away. But then in the back of my head, I first got qualified with the FBB as a coach when I was 16 after working for the full summer. You know what I mean? So then when I got into sound engineering, I was like, this is not right. And then I got into more music and I thought, yeah, I like this, this is not right. And then when I moved here and I finished my second year in film music, and the third year was pretty much just go and get in a job.
Yeah.
And by that time, I built my successful sort of like business in PT. And so I just thought, I'm just going to go full on it. And it's the best thing that I've done. You know, that's why I say to a lot of people, I just never know what's going to be your journey in terms of like, I've been that person just trying to being sort of like chasing ghosts in terms of like, oh, this is it. Oh, no, this is it. So you kind of expect when you're 18, 19, 20, you kind of expect to know what the hell you're doing with your life because you're only a kid, aren't you? So,
yeah.
Like, it took me to about 22, 23 to finally realize, right, okay, I'm a coach, so I'm just going to do this. And then hands down is exactly what I need to do, you know, because everything else, I'm sure you can relate to this, or other people can relate to this, you know, when you're supposed to be doing something, it's like, oh, I want to do music, but I got to the point that I was just getting sluggish and like, oh, I just don't want to play, or I don't want to study anymore. And it's like you had these annoying massive books about music theory, and I was like, oh my god. But then someone will send me about an article about anything about protein, something stupid, amino acids or BCAAs or whatever, and I will read it straight away and smash them within 5 minutes. And that was like the first call. I'm sure you're the same. That was the first call in terms of like, oh, I like this. I can literally. And now I just find myself studying all the time, and I don't even realize. I'm just reading, and
it's just that passion, that sort of innate drive, just your interest in it to read. That's really, because I didn't know that about you in terms of the musical background, which is interesting because I'm very similar to myself, not to the degree that you went to, but I played drums for literally my entire sort of childhood. Grew up playing drums, did like several different sort of bands. For me, it was, I never took it to the level of college or anything like that, because I didn't like the theory of it. I just like playing. I just love playing. I could never, even to this day, I could never read music. I would always, so like I did like play different rock bands, different sort of jazz bands, different soul bands sort of thing. And if it was ever a case of, right, this is the song that we're learning, this is what we need you to learn, I would learn it by just listening and just sort of picking it up as I went. Because I literally cannot read sheet music at all. It was that sort of option when I was younger, when they sort of started getting you to try and do it. And I just looked at it and I was like, I don't want to read. I just want to play.
Yes. To be fair, you know what happened to me? When I decided I was going to move here, it was just quite interesting because all the way throughout till I was 21, 22, I knew about theory, but sort of like theory applied to the instrument. So I sort of like, I had a visual in terms of like where everything is in the instrument. But if you said, I don't know, C sharp -7, whatever, and like a weird chord, well, I wouldn't be able to kind of like just play it.
Yeah.
And then the problem was when I was going to apply for uni, you need to get like a grade 5 or grade 6 in music theory. And I only find out that like two months before, sort of like applying.
Yeah.
Now like, I had to get myself a teacher straight away, and the teacher was like, "So you don't know anything about theory?" And I was like, "No." And he said, "Are you aware that people study this for years and you're gonna get this done? You're gonna get this done in 2 months?" And I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna do it. No chance I'm not gonna do it." And I did it, and the guy was like, "I bet you finally quit." And we bet finally quit. And he was like, "I bet you finally quit that you're not gonna pass this test in 2 months." And I was like, "There you go, shake my hand then." And then 2 months later, I was like, "Ha ha,
easy money." That's impressive. 2 months to get to grade 5, because like you said, people take years to get to that level.
I'm obsessive with this stuff. I think it's a bad thing sometimes, but again, coming back to the whole passion thing, I was just like, yeah, I just need to get this done. So just do it, go. But and I agree with you. Music is not something theoretical. I don't see music as in, C, D, G, whatever. It's like it's an expression of your emotions, isn't it? So that's especially drum.
Yeah, for me, it was always just a case of like, I wasn't a stressed kid, so it wasn't like an escape from stressful life. I was really like, I've become more stressed as I've got older and started working for myself and everything like that. But for me, I just loved playing. I wasn't interested in learning sort of anything theoretical. It wasn't, like you said, I didn't want it to be anything more than just the enjoyment of playing and just trying to get better and always trying to improve. And I had like private tutors and I was always trying to get better, but I just loved playing. I just like gigging was just, you just go into your own little world, don't you?
Fun.
Yeah.
Exactly. I miss that a lot, to be fair. I miss that a lot, the live shows.
I do see.
You never know.
I stopped when I went to uni originally because I couldn't take my drum kit with me. So I sort of stopped then. And I've not really picked it back up since. And it's always one of those things. It's like, I want to get back into it. I want to pick it back up because it's just, I really enjoy it. But getting a drum kit is so difficult when it's like, it's just a difficult thing to get in general. It's not quiet.
Yeah. Well, you can get an electric one.
You can get an electric
one. It's not the same, is it?
Yeah, and the kit that I learned on for most of the years, so my private tutor literally lives on the street behind me, and he's got like a full electric setup, and his electric kit's unbelievable. Like, it just looks like a normal acoustic kit, so you always just felt like you were playing acoustic. Yeah, it's class. Let's move on then. What's your poison? What's your drink of choice if we're talking? Are you a big coffee drinker? Because I feel like it was a good question to start with when we're talking to a lot of coaches, because most coaches just absolutely smash caffeine, whether it's monsters or coffees. So what, if we're talking coffees, what are we saying? Black or white?
You know what, with coffee, I'm one of them where I love it. I like this typical like black Colombian, proper intense, proper rich coffee. But I have to admit that I've completely sacked off caffeine for the past 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And not intentionally, not because I thought, my sleep is not good or this and this. Just all of a sudden I woke up one morning, I don't fancy coffee. And I can tell you, I just feel so much better. Because I sleep like a baby. It's just so much better. My focus when I'm training is a lot better because I used to smash a coffee first thing in the morning, like probably like 2 capsules, so double. And then go to train, have a double scoop of pre-workout, which is another 250 milligrams of caffeine. Yeah. So I was having probably like 500, 600 milligrams of caffeine a day, which is not ideal, is it? So
no.
So I think for now it's just like keep it either decaf or once in a bit.
Yeah.
But I love coffee. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have pre-workouts as such. I might have like a pump pre-workout, but I cut off stim-based pre-workouts a while ago, just for that reason. They stopped agreeing, or the one that I was having started giving me more stomach ache more than any, or just the come down after the session. I was just crashing, and I was like, I can't be doing this because I've still got a day of work I need to do.
It sounds a bit strange because I think the first thing that I noticed is after the first week. It was almost like you wake up first thing in the morning. I don't know, normally wake up around 7 o'clock. And I just didn't have that initial, when you open your eyes and you're like, oh my God, I'm tired. It was just very like, open the eyes and I'm ready to go sort of thing. And I thought, do I really like coffee that much just to keep it up? I thought, nah. And then throughout my sessions, again, as I said, I'm about performance, numbers and progression and everything else. And it's like I've been progressing a lot more because it's exactly what you said. Then I was training. I was having a ton of pre-workout training, then having a massive meal post-workout because I had like half an hour gap to eat before client, and then I will literally be yawning for 2 hours back to back after my client.
Crash with that caffeine and sort of carb mix, just absolutely crashing you out. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not what
exactly.
you want, is it? Especially if now having
Nah.
cut it off your trade, like you said, if with you performance being what drives everything for you, if cutting out caffeine is going to help improve your performance, then it's a no-brainer, really, isn't it?
Well, that's it. Yeah, I'm sold. See you
Yeah.
later.
So with that, then with the sort of performance driving it, would that be, because obviously for you, I mean, from what I've seen, your specific area is very much for yourself is bodybuilding. Obviously with your clients, I don't know what that is. So what would you say your specific area is when it comes to the sort of fitness industry? Where's your interest lie?
I mean, for me right now, I don't have a niche in terms of I want to work with this sort of person, that sort of person. I don't. Well, I stopped working with sort of like general weight loss a while ago. It is true that the main sort of niche, if we can call it, is obviously people who are willing to work and sort of like, because you know how it is. A lot of people, they say, "Oh yeah, I want to take myself to the next level, etc." But I'm not so interested in working with beginners. I'm more interested in working with people that actually like to go to the gym and they want to kind of like see more like the next level results. But I think the baseline for me is more their psychology. So as I was saying to you before, I'm trying to sort of like treat people in a way that they understand that they can do whatever they want, but it's just their goal. But it needs to be matching their lives and needs to be matching their values. So, for instance, I've had so many different conversations, especially with female competitors. For some reason, that's the most kind of like popular one. Where I don't know, if I give you a silly example that I had last week, it was these girls from Liverpool. They were like, "Oh, I want to compete. I want to get in the States," and straight away I just flagged up. Well, why do you want to compete? Are you constantly training right now? And she was like, "Well, I just fell off a bit. I'm training like a couple of times a week now, etc." And then as we were kind of like, as I was like digging into the conversation, she admitted that because her boyfriend had a bit of a situation, but her boyfriend was a bodybuilder, and then it felt almost to me almost like she was just trying to prove something in terms of like, "Oh, I want to get on stage because you said that I couldn't get on stage," and I said that to her straight away, saying, "Look," and she wouldn't mind telling me, explaining all this to you. It's like you need to be. I don't know if you know Jody Martini, for example, but he's a person that talks a lot about everything that you do, every action that you can sort of like do throughout the day. It needs to be with a good relationship with your values, and it needs to be in line with your values, sort of thing. So,
yeah,
for us, it will be like you try to run a successful business. You need to wake up on time. You need to what are you going to with your cafe? You need to train. You need to get your meals in, etc. Like, what are my competitive goals? Are they aligned with who I am as a person? Yes, I like to perform. I like to improve and everything else. But you should, I mean, all of a sudden, for her, I just brought to her attention saying, I don't think this is for you because you're going to do it for the wrong reasons. Because then you get on stage, competing is really, really tough, and then you're not going to feel your best. And then what happens if you lose? And that was the question that I said to her. What happens if you lose? You're going to match your top three or your second or your last. You're going to match that to your value as a person.
Yeah.
And I'm not interested in doing that because then as a coach, you'll be like, "Oh yeah, look at my fine competing, blah, blah, blah." But then in terms of me as a person trying to guide someone throughout a process, I just know that at the end of the road, she's going to crash. She's going to crash and the car is going to be on fire. It's going to explode. You know what I mean? And I think this is the problem right now that we're having with the industry. I think people are not paying enough attention to why clients are doing what they're doing. You know, it's like if someone has about like Amy, for example, that I know you had here, she focused a lot more on the relationship with food that people have, and I think that's absolutely great because everybody needs to sort of like work on that. You know, to see do you need to be in a diet plan for the rest of your life? Maybe not. Maybe you need to learn what's good for you and what's bad for you. So I think that's pretty much what I do. I'm really, really honest with clients, and they all know me.
Yeah.
In terms of saying, "Oh, I want to achieve this and this and this," and if they say, "Oh, I haven't trained for the past 2 years, but then now I want to get on stage," I'm going to say, "No, you won't, mate. No, you won't."
And you know what? I think you've absolutely hit the nail on the head there, because I think as coaches, that is something that is so important, is just to be upfront and honest. And we have almost a duty of care when it's going to go to that level. If someone wants to, because to compete is taking your body to such an extreme, that you need to be doing it under the guidance of someone who knows how to do it safely and effectively and then bring you out of that. And like you've said, straight off of the bat, if you get people inquiring who aren't doing it for the right reasons, they're not internally stable, they're doing it to, like you said, prove themselves to someone else or to get some nice pictures for Instagram or because they think it'll make them look better or, getting beach ready or whatever it is, that ultimately they're not going to be driven to achieve that goal when times get hard. And even if they do get to it, it's going to be a very, very difficult road when they get there and realize that it's not all it's cracked up to be. Getting that lean, looking that way is not as much fun as you think it would be.
Absolutely. And
yeah, like we're saying with John D. Martina, his like the Values Factor book, I read through that at the start of this year, and the exercises for that, just identifying and sort of lining up your values with your actions, is so important. It is something that I try to get clients to do myself in sort of a more simplified way, for that exact reason of actually being like, well, why do you want to achieve this goal? And I think that question of why is one of the best questions that you can ask someone to get them to a point where they truly understand what they want to achieve or why it's important to them. Because once they understand why, they won't need to rely on motivation or external gratification
Absolutely.
or anything to get them there. And you said it might even be a case of they dig into the why and they realize, actually, it's not what I want to do. That's totally fine as well. That's totally cool. But
we forget sometimes exactly what you said then. As much as our job is personal training or online coaching, which is more to do with the physical aspect, I always say this. I think we live in a society where people separate all the time, sort of like the physicality of us, the emotional side of us, or the psychology, where and the hormones and everything else, where as a human, everything is one. 100%. So as an example, me, I'm a bit of a meathead. If I had a bad day and I had a bad session, that will affect my rest of the day. And I'm still working on it because I know it's something not positive, but I know it will affect me. So the physicality, which is training, affects my mood straight away and possibly my hormones, because I'm stressing out about something so silly. So this is why I always bring to attention to people to saying the whole why, just knowing why you want to do something is so key because it's who you are as a person. It's straight away. So it's like, and I'm not gonna. When you said then about the duty of care, I'm not gonna put you in a diet plan. I'm not gonna put you into in a training plan to know that it's gonna make you feel like crap. And then on the other side of it, you're gonna crush. Because I've been there. I do this because I was that person. Willing to win the tournament for the basketball team, and then you win it, and you're like, man, I'm exhausted.
Feel
I
flat.
thought I was gonna, like the only thing that is same in athletics. Oh, I want to be a national level in juniors, and then you do it, you do top 3, and it's like, so yeah, but I just don't feel it. And then the only thing that I haven't achieved yet is like just doing, for example, the top 3 in bodybuilding or men's physique or whatever it might be. And I know that I will get there, and it's exactly what I said to my clients. And you can probably agree with this. Is the journey that you've done and how much it's changed you and how much kind of like it's more you say like the 2.0 version of yourself. That's exactly the takeaway from you. It's not the photo shoot. It's not being inside out. It's not being shredded because yourself. You've done a photo shoot when you're like 1 week out or 2 weeks out. You don't feel your best. You look your best. But you don't feel your best. So this is why, again, this is a little bit of awareness that we need to be bringing out in terms of the industry as coaches, as you say. And this is, I know that you guys all want to get shredded, but I think ultimately my job, if you tell me what's my niche, I said like my job, what I really want to be specific about is making people happier. Simple as that.
I love that. That's fantastic. Just as simple as that. Just make people happier, and that's And it does, and that can be as simple as making them realize what they actually want or what they actually value, what they actually enjoy. Like, it doesn't have to be, like you said, getting them lean, getting them more, I'd say getting them more confident in the body, but even just by getting them to realize the values and what they enjoy, they'll feel more confident in themselves anyway, regardless of that, without any changes. So it makes a huge, huge difference, doesn't it? And that's exactly taking it back a second on what you were saying about basically the journey being the process that you get something out of and the destination being just the end point. That's like, I was listening to Mark Coles's episode with Cuba that he put out the other day. And that was what Cuba was saying a lot, was like the end point for him, like, means nothing. Like, the result means nothing. It's the journey along the way and the progress and the change along the way that actually means something, that actually is what rewards you and what you get something back from. The end point is just a marker of progress. Right, we've achieved that. Great. What's next? Let's focus on what's next and let's move on what's next. And I think that's absolutely spot on. So what would you say then in that relative sort of around your area and what you see of the fitness industry and sort of what you're surrounded by in the fitness industry? What would you say is good about it? What's like a big, big positive of it?
Well, I think people right now, they have a lot more, well, in theory, they have a lot more knowledge towards sort of like the approach towards training, towards nutrition. So on that sense, I think obviously we come a long way of people actually. But I'm just saying, I'm doing the double thing over here because you know yourself how not every single coach is exactly the same, and as the industry grows more and more and more, then you're gonna have even better and better coaches, and then worse and worse and worse and worse. But
yeah,
I think it's a positive that regardless of what the actual quality of the industry is right now, the industry is bigger. And I think as much as a beginner or a bad coach someone could be, or they think of themselves as a bad coach or whatever it might be, they're still making a good service for somebody else, and they're still making someone else's life better in the sense of like with the whole current climate with coronavirus, COVID, and not being able to go on a holiday, not being able to see your family. A lot of people suffering with more like the mental side of things and the emotions. I think the more coaches we can bring into the industry right now, the sort of like the better service that we can provide, and sort of like the more of a positive impact that we're going to have in like the current society. Especially with people being overweight or people, like I said, not being so emotionally stable. So I think that will be the plus one right now. I don't know if you agree with it, but
100%. Like I said, it has blown up, hasn't it, in the last few years, and there are more coaches than ever. It is a very, very saturated market, and generally, like from a coaching perspective, we have so much more access now to knowledge, to courses, to seminars to improve our own craft, improve our own service, and ultimately help people better. And then general populations themselves have more access to more knowledge and more help. But then there is that caveat on the flip side that with the increase or the improvement of that side of things, is then also there's always going to be people who are not bothered about that, who do just want to make a quick bit of money from it, who will quite happily put someone's health at risk to get them signed up to a plan or something like that. So there is always that caveat, but there's going to be that in every industry, and it's just a case of being aware of it. And I think one thing I always try and say to people who are thinking about getting a coach is like, just spend time following them, spend time looking at their results, how they work, what they deliver, how they talk. Like it can be as simple as, does that coach work talking absolutes? Do they say you need to do this to get results, or you have to get rid of this to do results? Because exactly, you can see from your face shaking your head. If they say something like that, you just move and next, just say thank you next and move along, because they obviously are trying to sell some sort of unique strategy that's just a load of marketing BS, basically. Or they've had results with that themselves and they don't know anything different, and they're just pushing that onto everyone else.
And you probably know this, how many coaches you've met, they say, I've been a coach for 5, 6, 7, 10, 8 years, 15 years. But it's like, in reality, it's the same year repeated 15 times. Because you haven't taken care of the whole knowledge, and like every single, I was saying to the guys and the girls, like the only thing you need to do is like, if every single time your client comes to you with a problem, and you say, I don't know, like me, MCL injury, ACL injury, whatever it might be, and you say, I don't know the answer yet, but I'm going to go and pay for the course, and I'll come back to you in 6 weeks. If you do that every single time, you'll be the best coach ever. But it will probably take you 4, 5, 6 years or whatever it might be. And you know yourself, like the more you know, the more you realize you don't know, and the more humble you become. It's just like you study more and more and more. And it's like, I always say this sort of like comparison. I always say it's like you're in this room, and you have 3 doors, and you go through the first door, and you go into another room, and it opens 15 doors. And then you go to another, and it keeps opening more and more doors. It's like you realize, like, when is all this going to end? But it never finishes, isn't it?
It doesn't, and I think that is coaching as a whole. It's not a definitive process. There isn't a start and an end. It is just a constant process of evolution, in it, of just trying to, whether it's for us as a coach or working with a client, we're trying to help someone constantly progress, and us as a coach are just constantly trying to work and progress and improve through courses, through seminars. Like you said, I love the analogy of you've not got 15 years experience, you've got 1 year's experience repeated 15 times, because if you've not invested in any education or any further knowledge or anything, you're not changing, you're not developing, you're not growing. Whereas I would much rather work with someone who had been coaching for a year, but had already been to 2 or 3 seminars, was booked onto another seminar, was genuinely, you could tell, had a passion for learning and improving and growing. I'd rather work with someone like that than someone who has been doing it for 15 years. But when you say, when was the last time you did a course? Well, I qualified 15 years ago. Like, well, you're obviously not that interested in it, then you've obviously not got that natural drive.
Absolutely. I was going to say that if you're someone that is willing to help and willing and kind of like take your clients to the next level and generally helping them, you want to find the answer. And you know yourself how I've done it plenty of times. I've done mistakes as a coach. You know, and you look back and you cringe and you're thinking, oh, why did I do that way? And you learn more. You go and do a course about psychology. You go and do a course about nutrition, about hormones, and whatever it might be. And then you find the answer, and then you're like, oh, right, I've got it. But then that process never finishes, really, because
no,
we're not, as much as, this is the thing, I don't know what you think on this, but a lot of people say in terms of coaching, obviously we need to stay in our own lane, which is true. It's obviously true, because we're not doctors. I'm not going to say anyone to take this and take that, but it's like, if you don't have enough tools in terms of what's going to be your toolbox, at the end of the day, you're dealing with different personalities, with different sort of like opinions, different backgrounds. Like, you need to be ready. You need to be, people are going to throw stuff at you, and you need to be able to take it back and throw it back at them, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So like that's why, if you want to be more specific about your niche, you know, like people working with, I don't know, postnatal or, you know, GP referral, that sort of stuff, then that's sort of your niche. But if you're someone working online like us, I think you need to be more so like open in terms of like having loads and loads of tools and do loads and loads of courses and just keep at it, because the more I've had clients who, and with female clients in terms of like the hormone cycle side of it, and it's like they're not educated. And you know this yourself. It's like there's no education in the whole hormone side of things, and they blame, you know, as simple as the typical example that I'm probably this happened to you as well. Someone kills it for the week, you know, they train for the week. It's like, oh, I've been on it, I've been in my food, I've been in my training, everything's been on point. And then they go on scale, they have an awful vegetable scale, and they pull 3 pounds. And they're like, oh, screw this, screw everything. Well, you know, I was that coach back in the day, like 10 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever. And I would say, well, you definitely haven't been on track, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've had a bit of a biscuit here, a bit of a biscuit there, and they will get frustrated and say, no, Jack, I promise you, mate, I've been on track with everything. And I'm like, have you done your cardio? I promise you've done your cardio and everything. And then, because you didn't know, it was probably the week before the cycle, and then you have a bit of water retention. Yeah. It's like, you didn't know. And then, you see what I mean? So when all of a sudden, when you give that information to your client, they're like, oh my God. Now I know.
That specific point with the cycle is spot on, because again, like, obviously as blokes, if women are never taught enough about it, we're never taught enough about it either. And it wasn't until doing that. So the first thing, so I'm doing the Muscle Mentors platform as well, the portal. And the main reason I signed on to that was for the female hormone section. And I just went straight to that and just dived straight into those videos, because I was like, this is an area I don't know enough about. I'm working with females. I need to know more about this. So I dived straight into that. And like now, straight away, I now implement with female clients. We have a little tracker where we will compare certain metrics month to month based off of where they are in their cycle. So like their weight, their second week of their cycle, we will compare that week to month 2 of the same week in their cycle. So that then they can see that, okay, at this time of the month, every month, we gain a couple of pounds because, you know, we are into the PMS week, water retention's higher, we're holding a little bit more weight. That's fine. That doesn't mean you've gained any fat. And like you said, from a coaching perspective, us having that awareness gives us knowledge to be able to do something about it, but also that comfort of, well, okay, this is why it's happening, and we're not then panicking, well, they're doing everything, why is it going up? What am I doing wrong? And then it gives them the comfort of learning their bodies better, and then being, okay, I can expect this is going to happen this week. My weight's probably going to go up a bit, but it is literally just water. It's just cycle related. We know that coming out of the menses phase, 3 to 5 days afterwards, generally my weight's going to be a lot lower. And it just makes everything run so much smoother, doesn't it, when you start to apply it, the education around.
Yeah, but you see what I mean? Yeah, but it's like, I had a really interesting conversation with one of my mum's friends, she's a doctor, and I was speaking to her about all of this. And I was just having a conversation to do with birth control and nothing too fancy, nothing too in-depth or anything. And she was like, oh, yeah, but you technically, she was kind of like just pointing the finger at me saying, well, you don't have the sort of like, I don't want to say the knowledge, but sort of like the paper certificate to say, you might need to go to your doctor and have a blood test and see what's going on with your PMS symptoms, because maybe you have an excessive bleeding or excessive bloating, and it's something they're repeating every single month. But it's exactly what Friends there was like, if I don't have this knowledge, my client is not going to progress. So in her eyes as a doctor, she's like, well, you pretty much stepping outside of your sort of like your expertise and your sort of like your main thing as a coach. But the way we look at it is like, mate, I want my clients to progress, and whatever they need to know, I need to know.
And now look at it from a point of view of, if I didn't know that and something was going on that was potentially dangerous and they weren't spotting it, then neither of us are going to spot it and it can cause something worse. Whereas at least with us knowing that, you can then at the very least have the knowledge to be like, this isn't normal. We need to go get it checked out, go and see the doctor. Like, even if it's as just simple as that, like you said. So 100%. There is an important thing of staying in your lane and not trying to become the doctor or anything like that. But at the same time, learning as much as you can around those areas, it's only ever going to serve to benefit you as long as you practice it within the realms of staying in your lane, because it's going to make everything so much safer and more productive and enjoyable for people as well.
And you know yourself how many conversations you've had with your clients that they tell you, oh, how do you know about this? How do you know about that? How do you know about, just everything to do with hormones and digestion and everything else? It's like, well, because I care about you, mate.
Well, literally, and that was it. When I did, when I finished the portal section on the hormone cycle, I put together like a PDF, like a bit of a guide for my female clients, and dropped it into the Facebook group. And like, right, guys, just have a read through this. It's just very much the basics of the phases, the hormones responsible, what we can expect to see month to month. Obviously, it's going to be individual to you, but it gives us a general framework to go from. And they were literally like, where have you, like, I didn't even know this. Like, this is amazing. Like, I didn't know anything about this. And it does, like, even little things like that can genuinely change someone's, like, even if it's as simple as it lifts the mood for the day and they're like, oh, that's why I've gained weight this week. And they suddenly feel so much better and so much happier, and they go and have a better day and a better week. And that then translates into them sticking to the nutrition better, sticking to the training better, because now they have that reassurance that nothing's going wrong. It's just normal. It's just my cycle. And I just didn't know that before. So yeah, I agree. Difference. So flipping that question on its head, then what would you say is, and we'll stick it, we'll keep with one thing. What would you say is bad about the fitness industry at the minute? What would you say is like one of the worst things about it?
Instagram.
Simple. Done. Next.
Just pretty much is like the whole, just coming back to the whole values and how people perceive themselves. So I'm sure this happened to you plenty of times, I'm sure, hands down, where you get a client and they're like, I want to look like this, and they put a picture up of someone on Instagram, and I'm like, mate, she doesn't, that person on the photo, on the picture, she doesn't even look like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She like, it's her own picture. She doesn't even look like that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, but how can I get those hip drops, or that inner thigh gap, or this and that? And I'm like, why cannot we just focus on ourselves?
Yeah.
And just being the best version of yourself. As simple as that. And it's like, and it's what I was saying to them. It's like, even sometimes, coming back to this whole journey, is someone was commenting the other day on like the pictures when I last competed, sorry. And they were like, oh, I bet you were feeling amazing then, and this and that. And I said, no, I was miserable as hell.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a nice person to be around. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
And most people that know me, I'm a nice guy to be around, I think.
Yeah.
And they're like, and I said to them, like, that's my version physically, but my worst version mentally, in terms of like my strength, my sort of like my capacity to deal with stuff, just everyday stuff. You know, and my relationship with food was completely gone. I always make this joke where I used to go to Tesco's when I was 2 weeks out, just to smell the bakery.
Yeah.
Just to smell the bakery.
Just to smell it.
That's how messed up I was. And I had security in my ass saying, mate, are you stealing something? I'm like, because I used to go every single day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just here to smell the bakery. And obviously the guy was looking me up and down thinking, Jesus Christ, was, you know, like 2 weeks out, but like a completely school face.
Yeah.
Probably think that was a crackhead or something.
Just getting him to bring out like a fresh batch of cookies so you can have a sniff and walk home happy then. And that's funny because I remember the first seminar I ever went on was a Matt Cole's one, and it was the body transformation seminar. And he literally said when he used to compete, it got to the point where he'd go to the supermarket, he'd buy all the ingredients to make cookies, he'd go home, he'd make cookies, make his flat smell like cookies, and then put them all in the bin just for that. And it's the exact same thing, isn't it? And I've never been to that extent. Obviously, I've done a couple of photo shoots, but to go to a competition, it's just it's another level. So I've never been that bad, but yeah, it's stories like that always crack me up because that's like an extreme. Funny. That's when you know things are bad.
yeah, that's when you know your body's telling you, "Oops, something's going on here."
But you're 100% spot on, and it's like when. I think every coach gets it. Someone comes and says, I want to look like them, and shows a picture of something. And it's like, look, even if we got you to a point where you were the exact same body fat percentage as them, the exact same amount of muscle as them, you're not going to look like that. Like, you will look different. You'll have a slightly different shape. You'll have slightly different strengths, weaknesses. I was like, it's setting when that it's difficult because it's like, yes, it's good to have that sort of end goal of this is the sort of area I want to end up in. This is sort of how I want to look as an end goal. But with that understanding of I'm not going to look like that, I can just get toward that sort of level of conditioning or training, whatever it is. But it's totally just setting yourself up to fail from day one. And if you're looking at a photo and you're like, that's how I want to look, you're only going to be disappointed. You're only going to get frustrated.
So I always do the same when people laugh. When someone's inquiring, we're going through the consultation, they laugh. Because I'm like, I just flip the question around. And I said, if you had, and they're like, bloody hell, you're quite deep. You've gone quite deep for this, haven't you? And I'm like, yes. Well, I said, if you could imagine the best possible life you could ever have, where, I don't know, if someone, for example, I was speaking this with David the other day, and he's got a couple of kids, and I was like, right. So if you could have the ideal life where you're spending time with the kids, you're just ticking off the box of working. So you're working 40 hours a week, whatever, doing whatever. And you can train a maximum of 3 to 4 times a week. And you can be in the best shape of your life while feeling amazing. Is that a good picture? Does that sound good to you? And they're like, right, that sounds banging. If I can spend time with my kids, and if I can go away in a week and have a bit of a meal out with my missus, if I can do this, if I can do that, that sounds bang on, right? That I just love that. I just love that because I'm just helping people and giving value 24/7 rather than the whole, oh yeah, you wear 5 pounds lighter this week. Yeah, see you next week. Oh yeah, the pictures are looking good. Yeah, see you next week. So,
and that's it, isn't it? It's because we put out as coaches a lot that your weight does not value your worth. Your weight does not, mean anything. But then if we were to then only at check-ins be like, right, what's your weight saying this week straight away? And based off of that, be like, right, well, let's change your food, let's change your nutrition and leave it there. Well, then we're saying one thing, but then we're completely doing another. So to actually pull that away and like you said, like you do, have that personal vested interest in how's work, how's family, you had X, Y, Z coming up this week. How did it go? How are you feeling? It reinforces that message that we're saying that there's a hell of a lot more to life than how you look and what you weigh.
Hands down. It's like, it's exactly, again, I know maybe I'm repeating myself, but like going back to my physique, when people ask me, when I come back home and literally 2 weeks ago I was in Spain, and my mom looked at me and she was like, you're not going to get any bigger, are you? And I was like, what are you talking about? Of course I'm going to get bigger. And she was like, but why do you want to get bigger? You're going to be happy if you get any bigger. And I was like, no. And then I had another really interesting conversation with somebody else, one of my friends. He was telling me, what's the end goal with your physique? And I'm like, there's no end goal with the physique. It's the performance that drives me insane. I'm just obsessed with the performance. I just want to. It's that sort of like zone my training puts me on, and I'm in love with that. But it's what I was saying to them. Am I happier now that I'm 100 and something kg compared to before when I was 70 something or 60 something? No. I'm a bit more confident in the way I'm looking, obviously, because before I wouldn't even take my top off in the beach, hands down. Yeah, I'm not going to say that, but Which I mean, that's why that's what I said to my clients. Like, you can't expect a physicality like that is just so particular, and like it's only gonna last. But the best of your life, you know yourself, and if I just you prep, you're gonna stay like that for 1, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks maximum.
Yeah.
After that, it's not sustainable. So what, you're gonna be killing yourself for 4 weeks of happiness, and then as soon as you get a bit fluffier, then you're not happy again. So
it's so true. So true is that. No, that's really, really cool. That's really, really interesting. And I completely agree with everything you said, certainly around Instagram. It's one thing I tell a lot of clients to do is just to audit their Instagram. Go through every single person you follow. And if they don't add value, if you don't see their content and smile or feel some sort of positive way about it, get rid of it, because it's serving you nothing. And it's just going to make your life more miserable. You're going to compare and everything like that. So yeah, completely on board with what you're saying then. So you obviously, we've spoken a lot around yourself with performance driving your own training. You're obviously an extremely internally driven person, like we know that anyway. But who would you say, who inspires you for your training? Do you have people that you actually look to inspire you for your own training and your own goals and your own progress as well?
I think it's a tricky question, because there's people that I respect in the industry as coaches. You know, Callum, Joe Physique Collective, these sort of people that are actually putting out great results. But I think I'm a bit of a crazy bastard in this sense because I think I link everything towards so like what am I trying to achieve in general for life, you know. So when I'm training, if it's a deload week, it's a deload week, right? That goes out of the question. But if it's like if I'm pushing, then I say, what am I trying to do to get out of this set? And it's not, I promise you, it's not the case of I want to get one more rep, because we know in theory that one more rep is not going to get me any more muscle, is it? It's not.
No.
But I think the whole, if you say, who am I looking up to? I'm just looking up like the better version of me. Is like when I'm going back to the whole set, if I want to do another rep, if I want to push myself to sort of like the next level, what am I thinking in that sense? So all I'm thinking is like that little insecure 16-year-old, 15-year-old kid, Zac, who was depressed as hell, and he thought he was just worthy of anything. You know what I mean? And it's like I've got that sort of like that picture, that phrase in my head of that what that guy said. The way you train is who you are. To show people, you know, even though I don't care, but show yourself, sort of like who you are. The people that really, really inspire me is not Phil Heath, Mr. Olympia, it's not Kai Green and none of this lot. It's like when I've got a client who is actually putting through all the coaching process, like I've literally done a couple of check-ins where maybe they have 3 or 4 kids and they're doing their cardio, they're doing their steps, they're cracking over the training, they're learning loads about nutrition, the whole family is benefiting from the whole coaching process. Man, it's like my job in this planet is fucking making people happier, and I'm so certain about that. So it's like people that inspire me is my clients, you know, because they allow me to put all this sort of trust in me, and I get all that massive sort of like burst of energy back. That
is really incredible. And it's not a surprise actually. That answer you've given's not surprised me at all, in the sense of you are your own sort of influence and you are your own motivation. And I think the reason why that doesn't surprise me is because I've seen you train, and I've seen the intensity, and I've seen the drive there and the passion there when you are training. And I've seen obviously what you put out on social media and with your coaching and everything. And it comes across like really, really evident. And I think that ties in really nicely to what we were saying at the start about understanding your values, understanding what's important to you and what you value, because you have that and you've done the work in those areas and you know who you are, you know what you value, you know what's important to you. That then allows you to use yourself as your own motivation, as your own inspiration, because you know exactly where you're going, you know exactly where you've come from, and you know exactly what you're wanting to get out of every single thing that you do. And I think that answer that you've given there literally just ties everything that you've been saying up really nice. A couple of questions then before we finish. One for coaches, really. Who would you credit as a sort of top 2 mentors that you've learned for up to date, if you could narrow it down to 2?
Well, I'm going to say probably this guy called Rob Latty. I think he's Rob Latty Boudier or something like that. Or Rob Latty. So you guys go and find him, Rob Latty. Send him a message saying Zac said, "What's up?" But yeah, I worked with him for about a couple of years.
Wow.
Just going through, and he was kind of like the one sort of like unleashing my inner beast sort of thing. Before him, this is literally when I moved here to the UK, like 4 or 5 years ago. Before him, obviously, you can imagine moving to a new country, where you leave your home family behind, you leave your friends, your whole life behind, sorry, and you come into a new country with a massive Spanish accent, not knowing how to talk, sort of thing. You had to face loads of insecurities, and obviously moving from that to coaching career, 6 months into being into a new country, it was tough. It was tough. So I had to sort of like work a lot on myself. And I think I encouraged a lot of people, because I was that person saying, that's just for depressed people and weirdos. Honestly, I was that person. And then as soon as we had the first 2 sessions, I was like, oh my word, I'm going to literally nail down all my fears and what am I scared of, and just like failing. Because, all my life I thought I was failing, because no matter what I did, I was still that kid that was supposed to be playing basketball and didn't. So I was a working failure. You know what I mean? So that knocked down my confidence big time. We worked in different areas that really allowed me to, well, all different areas really, all myself really. Just to see what, again, going back to the whole values, who I am, what I want to do, where do I see myself within the next 5, 6, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, even though I like to live on today. That will be, he will be one, Rob Lassie, and then the second will be Mark Cole. Mark Cole is someone that I worked. I've consumed his content several times, podcasts, I still do. Went to a couple of his seminars, like the one that you said, body transformation and training the average Joe. That's stuff. And then I went straight away and worked with him on a one-to-one basis. And I think it's pretty much that, like, a lesson, like sort of the next level in terms of like who do you want to be working with in terms of the coach. So I said I don't really want to be working with right beginners anymore, because I just can't relate with them. I just like to, or if someone is a beginner, I want to train with someone that actually shows the passion to take themselves to the next level, rather than just all talking and not doing much. So Mark is a great guy, as you know. He's just very, he produces a lot of high quality content, sorry, in terms of coaching. And not only that, but I think he's very heavy towards being a coach. Being a good coach, sorry, takes time, but if you can kind of like manage the journey in a way that you're growing yourself as a person while becoming a better coach, that's pretty much like the match made in heaven, because then you never have which was my problem, is like the knowledge back in the day was there, even though it was shit compared to what it is now, but it was there. But the application of it in terms of like the self-development, me being able to walk into a person and say, yeah, mate, I'm a coach, it wasn't there. Do you know what I mean? So that would be the top 2. And then obviously plenty of coaches like Callum from Massive Mentors and all, and the rest of you know who they are. It's like the top dogs from the industry, I think.
Wicked, mate. Yeah. Absolutely class. Completely agree with that. Before we finish then, mate, where can people find you?
Well, they can pretty much find it everywhere apart from YouTube. No, I think I'm on YouTube as well. But Instagram, you type Zac as in ZAC, right? Because my full name is Zacharias, but that sounds ugly as hell. So I just, even not most people call me Zac anyway. So it'll be Zac ZAC Gonzalez with the Z at the end. And you type Zac Gonzalez Coach on Instagram, Facebook, you just find me in there. Or Zac Gonzalez UK on my website. In YouTube, I've got a couple of bits and bobs for nothing interesting. But yeah, the one that I use the most is Instagram. Yeah. And nowadays, that's sort of like the main source, sort of thing.
I'll drop your links into the show notes on the episode, and people should definitely go and check you out. So before we go, final question. For anyone who's struggling right now to sort of make progress towards their goal, whatever it is, what's the one bit of advice you will give someone who is struggling? What's the one thing that you would tell them to do?
I think it will be exactly the post that I put out yesterday. It will be taking every day as an individual and just focusing on what can you do today. We're talking about in terms of like achieving their physical goals. But what are the actions you can take today to make it happen? You know, so can you wake up 15 minutes earlier and go for a 15-minute walk? Can you prepare your meals in advance, even if it's just one meal? prepare your packed lunch to take to work, can you just make your bag with your clothes, the gym clothes, put in the car straight away, so then you can go to the gym straight after. You know, just stuff like this. Can you just do a home 10-minute head work session at home? Just stuff like this. And if it was more like to do with high performance and everything else, like people more towards body transformation, bodybuilding, and everything else, just allow yourself to understand that regardless of where you are, like the process is going to be tough and it's going to require a lot of loads of focus on from you and loads of energy. So like try to, on both sides, just try to take every single day as it comes. And rather than just focusing on, because you know this conversation, right? It's Wednesday already. It's about today's Monday, right? But it's Wednesday already. The whole week is a mess. I'll start Monday after.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, if you take action every single day, I can promise you that you look into a week's time and you were like, whoa, how the hell did I get here? And not only you be, which is the thing that we probably love the most about coaching, is like not only your physicality will be a lot better, but mentally you're going to be a monster. You know, and you know yourself how you've seen people going through life changes just because of coaching, because they have maybe very limiting, lots of limiting beliefs saying, oh, I can't get in shape, so I can't do anything. But then if we come in the picture and it's like, look, you're in shape now. And they're like, oh, so maybe if I go in shape, maybe I can go back to uni and study this. Or maybe I can, don't know, just go and ask that bird out or that guy out or whatever. So I think it's really important. But I think it's that, guys, we live for today. Don't live for tomorrow. Don't live for yesterday. It's like, enjoy these sort of moments. Like I love it live right now, just sharing my ideas with you. So I think it's really, really important to kind of like just be there, be present, take your phone and just throw it away and be with people around you.
That's awesome, mate. I think that's absolutely spot on and super, super valuable for anyone listening. Just focus on the one thing that you can do today to get you one step closer to where you want to be tomorrow. Absolutely on point, mate. Zach, we're going to stop it there, dude. So thank you so much for coming on and giving us some of your time and sharing some of your thoughts with us, dude. It's been really, really cool. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've had a nice time.
I loved it.
Awesome, mate. Well, thanks for coming on, and I'll speak to you soon, dude.